Here are some clips in case you missed them this week.
Look, this is an unspeakable tragedy. Today is a day for consoling the survivors and mourning those we lost. Our thoughts and prayers are certainly with all of those individuals. There's a time and place for a political debate, but now is the time to unite as a country. There's currently an open and ongoing law enforcement investigation. A motive is yet to be determined, and it would be premature for us to discuss policy when we don't fully know all the facts or what took place last night. I think today is more, again, like I said, a day of reflection, a day of mourning, a day of gratefulness for those that were saved. And I think that there will be certainly time for that policy discussion to take place, but that's not the place that we're in at this moment. But certainly I think that there's a time for that to happen. But I think one of the things that we don't want to do is try to create laws that won't create or stop these types of things from happening. I think if you look to Chicago, where you had over 4,000 victims of gun-related crimes last year, they have the strictest gun laws in the country. That certainly hasn't helped there. So I think we have to, when that time comes for those conversations to take place, then I think we need to look at things that may actually have that real impact.
And taken from this week's episode of The Smartest Man in the World, here is Greg Proops.
More people have died in handgun deaths since 1968 than have died in every war fought by the United States. That means World War II, the Civil War. When you count the 700,000 people from the Civil War, the 500,000 people from World War II, Vietnam, every war, more people have died from handguns since I was 8 years old. Yeah. And so understand that. Handguns are a plague on the United States. Jennifer sent me this one. Remember, gun control doesn't work except in Canada, Japan, England, Spain, Australia, Sweden, Iceland, Italy, Israel, Denmark, and Germany. When anyone starts in with you and says guns don't kill people, people kill people, no. Guns are the tool that kills people. Laws don't change how people behave. You can't smoke indoors anymore. You can't drive a car 1,000 miles an hour anymore. There's a lot of things. You can't make children work in a coal mine all day long for a nickel. There's lots of things you can't do anymore.
His spokesperson did come out and clarified that the Secretary of State had never used those words.
What's your response to those who say the president has undercut the Secretary of State? Sarah, just quickly before you go.
I think the premise of that question is absolutely ridiculous. The president can't undercut his own cabinet. The president is the leader of the cabinet. He sets the tone. He sets the agenda.
Now, I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack, because we've spent a lot of money on Puerto Rico, and that's fine. We've saved a lot of lives. If you look at every death is a horror. But if you look at a real catastrophe like Katrina, and you look at the tremendous hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that died, and you look at what happened here with really a storm that was just totally overpowering. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. What is your death count as of this moment? 17?
16 certified.
16 people certified. 16 people versus in the thousands. You can be very proud of all of your people, all of our people working together. 16 versus literally thousands of people. You can be very proud.
He cannot be contained because he is psychologically off the chain. With each passing week, he displays the classic symptoms of medium-grade mania in more disturbing forms: inflated self-esteem, sleeplessness, impulsivity, aggression, and a compulsion to offer advice on subjects he knows nothing about. His speech patterns are like something straight out of a psychiatric textbook. Manics display something called flight of ideas. It's a formal thought disorder in which ideas tumble forth through a disordered chain of associations. One word sparks another, which sparks another, and they're off to the races. As one trained psychiatrist said to me, compare Donald Trump's speaking patterns to a Robin Williams monologue, but with insults instead of jokes.
He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said.
We're joined now by Dr. Bandy Lee, a forensic psychiatrist on the faculty of the Yale School of Medicine and the editor of the new book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump. 27 psychiatrists and mental health experts assess a president. Also joining us, Tony Schwartz, co-author of Donald Trump's best-selling book, The Art of the Deal. Tony, I have a question for you that is about policy and the psyche of Donald Trump. And it's the crucial question of the day or the week for next week. And that is the Iran deal. We have a report coming out tonight saying that the president is going to announce next week that he is going to pull the United States out of the Iran deal. Knowing Donald Trump as you do, and in my judgment, you know him better than anyone who speaks about him publicly, would he pull the United States out of the Iran deal just because Rex Tillerson is in favor of staying with the Iran deal? Is that the kind of psyche we're dealing with?
Well, I don't know that would be the only reason, but it certainly could put him over the edge. He's getting, obviously, very conflicting advice about whether to do that, and there's still factions in his administration arguing each side. But yes, he is emotionally driven, not obviously intellectually driven. You don't even want to use that word with regard to Trump. And I absolutely believe that any decision he makes is going to be primarily influenced by the intensity of the emotion he happens to be feeling at that moment.
Which includes personal feeling about the person he's dealing with, whether he likes that person or not.
You know what this represents?
Tell us, sir.
Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm is
We have the world's great military people in this room, I will tell you that. And we're going to have a great evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
You're listening to TMI for the week of October 9th, 2017.
Are you familiar with the Peter Principle? That's where we rise to our level of incompetence. Where if we're good at our job, we continue to be promoted until that last promotion when we're promoted out of our skill range.
Yeah.
Okay. A book in the late 60s or early 70s, The Peter Principle.
Okay.
So my theory is that the reason why things are so messed up and the public won't take control of their government or can't is that even voters now have promoted themselves to the level of incompetence.
I'd have to agree. Again, we have the collective wisdom and attention span of a goldfish. Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's just too much information. Too much bad stuff. Pardon my grammar, but...
Now is not the time to talk about the politics of gun control.
No, now is the time, because there's no better time to talk about the politics of gun control than while it's happening. There's 58 people that are probably still sitting in a cooler in Las Vegas somewhere because their fellow countrymen didn't do enough to advocate for gun control. It's like Proops said in his little monologue there about, Canada's got it, France has got it, Germany's got it, England's got it, Australia's got it.
Well, your line was getting caught screwing the babysitter, raising your head from the sheets and going, well, dear, now's not the best time to talk about our marriage. You laughed at your own joke.
I thought this was an open marriage. That's what you said on our wedding night as I was fucking your sister.
Now is not the time to talk about gun control.
Yeah. Well, so, yeah. I really don't know what to believe anymore. I don't. It's one disaster after another. So, did Trump go down to Florida after the nightclub shooting?
My memory doesn't go back that far.
You just proved my theory correct about the goldfish.
I'm not sure who was in power then. That would have been
I thought
February
that was this past winter. It was February, March. Yeah. Wasn't it?
It was in February.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I can't remember what he said about that. He probably said there are good people on both sides of that dispute.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, I mean, this guy is a through and through racist.
Well, he was nice enough to go down to Puerto Rico and shoot them some paper towel after the flood.
Oh, I mean, this guy is a real piece of work. I know. Thanks, Florida. Well, thanks, Puerto Rico, for hitting our economy, or whatever it was he said. I mean, and then he goes on to compare compare and contrast between Katrina and Maria. While people are still struggling and they don't have water, they don't have refrigeration, they don't have anything for their medication. 69 hospitals are in Puerto Rico, but less than half of them have enough power, diesel power, to keep the hospitals running. But he's making the people of Puerto Rico feel ashamed for being Puerto Rican.
Wasn't Puerto Rico under U.S. rule during its...
Since 1898.
So all of the debt that he's
incurred,
talking about happened under U.S. rule.
Yeah. So, if anything that Trump has done, he's sowed disunity, and I would not be surprised if the people of Puerto Rico will finally say to the Americans, "We are gone."
So they're saying the gun companies have profited from the mass shooting.
Yeah, I heard that. All the little idiots are afraid that the government is going to make this particular gun illegal, or whatever that's a thing that makes it a machine gun illegal, and so now they're all out there buying it all up. So.
And are you convinced by the NRA's pull of the bump stock device?
Oh, that's what it was called. That's right, bump stock.
You know how it works, I guess.
Yeah, it makes it so that you can fire in rapid succession, as opposed to...
It uses, how the rifle butt would be jammed into your shoulder every time you pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
It harnesses that and
energy.
Makes it re-pull the next cartridge into it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised by the NRA's. They didn't even stand up for children in kindergarten and grade 1, right? I mean, they're just cannon fodder as far as the NRA is concerned, right? They don't care about children getting killed. So now, 58 people, or whatever it was that were murdered by this guy. Now all of a sudden they care. Again, a mercury in the water of the American citizens, is tainting their brain. So.
Your thoughts and prayers go out to the NRA and the tough work ahead for them pushing forward in their struggle to...
Look, they're trying to pass through Congress and the Senate or whatever silencers for rifles.
Yeah, you caught that.
So I have nothing but contempt for the NRA and the people that have represented it.
I think that was literally about to be passed.
And they suspended the bill until probably for about 2 weeks, because human beings have the attention span of a goldfish, and I'm insulting goldfish.
How is it in the public interest, silencers?
It's not. Oh, they don't want to wake up people as they're being assassinated, probably, or killed in their sleep.
People are getting sick of thoughts and prayers going out to everybody.
I think people are they're not getting sick and tired of thoughts and prayers going out. I think they're getting sick and tired of piss-poor behavior by individuals or by various groups within society, quite frankly. by the time I got out of here on Friday, I made a beeline straight for my local Starbucks and had a coffee before I went grocery shopping, and I noticed the espresso there, and I thought of you, and you invaded my brain, and I thought,
Think of this.
Yeah.
The decaf looks very much like the normal espresso.
Okay.
You know you've got a problem.
When? Yes. Exactly.
When after about a few hours decaf, you're like on your knees.
Wondering why I have a migraine?
It feels like you're looking through that core of a paper towel.
Oh, yeah. You're stroking. That sounds like you're stroking. That's the long tunnel to your doom. Is that a light at the end of the tunnel, or is that an espresso bar?
With that kind of pain, something should burst.
Yeah, that's a stroke. Sounds like a stroke. Okay. Back in a second. Back in a sec. Find us on Twitter, The Price Anderson Act, @ThatArcher. Find our webpage at libsyn.com. Subscribe to us on Stitcher, Laughable, YouTube, Player FM, Google Play Music, Castbox, Blueberry, Listen Notes, and iTunes. Almost anywhere you find podcasts. Email the show if you would like to be a guest or leave a comment. Archer@twxnet.com. There we go. Done. That's why you write it down. So, knock it out of the park, baby. Just knock it out of the park. Boris says, because I like social media, please be social.
It's a good one. Okay, but so mine this week, my entry.
Yep.
We'll see who wins. The deal maker with the Velveeta touch.
Okay.
The president last week got a hairpiece donated by Kraft Singles.
Boom.
One last one. Do you think the Trumps carved the name Trump into their pumpkin? So if we were ending the phone call, it'd be like, okay, man, so keep it fake, fake news.
Yeah.
Keep it fake.
So, there's a bunch of different conspiracy theories coming out of Vegas, and I don't know if you heard this one, but they were saying that there was more than one gunman. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah. So, yeah.
How credible is that?
So, the fact that it hasn't been on any other news service, or the fact that it hasn't been on a news service, I think that just lets you know how credible the information actually is. I have no problems with living in the city. I mean, I miss the country. I really miss the country, but I have no love or fond memories of deer flies, black flies, mosquitoes in the summer, and in the bush. That as you're lying at night in bed, and you just hear that.
Oh yeah. But if
you want to punch the phone, it's so annoying, don't you? Yeah, exactly. In the middle of the night, you're punching the air. You're trying to find a mosquito. That's the definition of insanity in the summertime.
If you've been battling swarms of 60 all day, and then you finally get into bed, and you hear that sound, it can cause an emotional response that's... It's kind of like unlike anything else.
I know.
And the other thing is,
you're punching the air and
the ones
blind
that
rage.
The other thing is the ones that get trapped in your bedroom. They've sort of been hanging out there all day, so they're hungrier
hungry.
than the normal ones, and there's something frantic about the frequency of their buzzing and the enthusiasm. It's it can be terrifying.
Must have blood. Oh yeah. You don't know if it's malaria. You don't know if it's Zika. You don't know.
No, there's something about the frantic dedication. You know that it's going to get you. Like, there's no escape. And if you've been battling them all day, it can be quite upsetting.
That's true.
Sometimes you just stick an arm out and say, okay, get it over with. Let's just do this.
When they were doing a thing on phones and people driving in their cars and everything like that, and as they were doing the story, I guess they caught on film. We have bicycle. I don't know if you guys have them in Toronto, but bicycle lanes. And some university chick was texting and riding her bicycle at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah. And so by the end of the broadcast, people were like texting in and Facebooking in and saying like, okay, you guys need to do a story on these people who are texting and cycling at the same time. And they said, okay, well, we're going to do that for our viewers. We're going to have a story about that next week. And
I saw it the other day driving down the road, and a guy is standing in the middle of a four-way stop sign.
No.
Busy downtown Toronto. Texting, frozen in the middle of crossing a road. Like, so he's literally standing in the middle of the road. Stuck
I don't
texting.
get it, man. I really don't get it. Maybe because I don't have a cell phone. Maybe that's why I don't get it. But
it is the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, well, Cindy nearly got killed because of these fucking millennials. So,
okay, well, harsh back on that. Because Todd Glass in episode 4 did straighten us out on bashing millennials for their cell phones.
Well, so I'm not.
I just leave it at survival of the fittest and let nature take its course, but that's just me. So when they went down to Puerto Rico, Melania's footwear became the news.
Was she wearing heels again?
She was clicking around there. Clicking. To a disaster. But I guess the high heels kept her heels dry.
Just like in Houston. Just like after the hurricane in Houston. Really? Puerto Ricans, who are American citizens, have been abandoning the island. At last count, it was losing on net 68,000 people a year, or 1.9% of its population. Those who have stayed are aging, like the rest of America. Now Puerto Rico must contend with people fleeing a natural disaster. A recent working paper by economists Leah Baustein, Matthew Kahn, and Paul Rode, and Maria Yangus examines American natural disasters from 1920 to 2010. It finds that a severe disaster lowers net migration into any given country by between 2.3 and 5.9 percentage points. Puerto Rico is no country. Is no county. It has fully 3.4 million residents, but even in effect 1/10 of that size would be disastrous. So it's saying that, wow. In a nutshell, it's saying that because of this disaster and the fact that it's going to take years to fix its infrastructure, that Puerto Rico is in a lot of trouble. So it's saying that, however, with regards to moving and migration, moving requires resources, and that 44% of Puerto Rico's residents earn less than the federal poverty line in the United States. 44% of Puerto Rico's population earn less than the federal poverty rate in the United States. So, and IMF, International Monetary Fund study finds that extreme weather events increase immigration, but only from places that people can afford to leave. So, and it says here, IMF's other findings are equally grim. 7 years after an average hurricane, typhoon, or cyclone striking a small country, output per head fell 2.5% lower than otherwise would have been. So even after 20 years being hit, economies typically have not fully recovered. So Puerto Rico, you know, they said here that suspending the Jones Act entirely would help. And the Jones Act requires all ships sailing between the United States, between American ports, that the ships be built in the United States, owned by Americans, and crewed by Americans. And that only Congress is the only way that they can get this stupid racist thing taken care of and dumped into the ocean where it belongs. So
it looks like Puerto Rico will be the new Haiti.
Yep. The Haiti of America. So if Americans can handle that, you know, and Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And in case there's Americans out there that don't know what that is, the Western Hemisphere is everywhere from the North Pole all the way down to the South Pole, including South America and Central America.
Okay. Hey Siri, you're on the podcast.
Playing podcasts.
Great. This is a little button that says open podcasts. We want. Hey Siri. What?
Wow, was that a male voice now?
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Oh, something about won't work or. Okay. Hey Siri. Now I'm nervous.
I don't get it, but I can check the web for... No, I'm nervous I am, if you like.
Wow.
Wow.
So, hey Siri, do you like Trump? It typed, who, me?
Who, me?
Hey Siri,
that's actually brilliant.
Do you have a sense of humor?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't have an answer to that.
Somewhat elusive attitude.
Uh-huh.
I think I have to say hey Siri every time I say something. She seems to give up.
You sound like that guy Tom Powers from CBCQ. Hey Canada.
Hey Siri, why am I embarrassed to talk to my phone?
I don't know. Frankly, I've wondered that myself.
Yeah, well, it's kind of creepy. She didn't catch that because I didn't say hey Siri.
Yeah.
I have never spoken to Siri in my entire life, I swear to God.
Really?
And somebody was saying, though I guess they must have changed it, but if you had, like maybe you'd be listening to a podcast on your cell phone, and if the announcer in the podcast said, hey Siri, the phone would, oh, you've heard that. It typed, hey Siri on the phone without Chief heard that. Okay, now she is listening. But anyway, if somebody on the podcast said, hey Siri, it would trigger hey Siri. And so if somebody in the podcast said, hey Siri, Google my next date at some stand-up place, you're listening to a podcast on a phone that all of a sudden comes up and shows you a link to. Like she's typing everything I just said.
Whoa.
This is creepy.
That is
all right,
creepy.
Google that. Hey Siri, Google the stuff you're typing. She's been typing all the stuff I've been saying.
Yeah,
She
now
even just
everything's in
typed out.
a cloud somewhere in the United States.
My web search turns something up for the stuff you're typing, and typing all have a look. Microsoft Word, when I type, replaces forward delete. This is another rabbit hole to fall down.
Oh my God.
Just Siri.
Yeah. Or Amazon Echo. Or all those other things that they have out there now.
You didn't happen to... Okay, so all the stuff... So, okay, Ralphie May died this week.
Mm-hmm.
A really nice comedian, and his niceness came through in his act.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I can't think of many comedians that have that effect on someone. Tom Petty.
Yeah.
Tell me why you want to lay there and revel in your abandon.
Yeah, no, it's Tom Petty. This has been quite the week, you know, and then with our own friends and our own group of people.
I'm Dave Archer in Toronto.
And I'm Ian Stolberg in Ottawa.